Jared Polin, Photos.com, and this is a review of the Tamron 35 to 100 millimeter f2.8. That is right, this is not a variable aperture lens like we're used to seeing in the past, and it's not an f4, it's a constant 2.8, meaning at 35 you're at 2.8, and at 100 you're at 2.8. But is it worth it? We're gonna answer that by the end of this video. So this lens is available in Sony E-mount as well as Z-mount, and Tamron doesn't make any lenses for the L-mount as they're not a part of the L-mount Alliance. Anyway, I tested out the E-mount version because I threw it on to the Sony A9 III. Now, being that this is a versatile 35 to 100, I ran it through its paces by photographing kids outside during nice daylight. I went inside to photograph a chef at a restaurant called Amma in Fishtown in Philly, and I also set up a portrait session with a Ghostbuster, a real-life Ghostbuster. His name is Troy Venkman. That is his name. Don't you forget it. Who you gonna call? Troy Venkman. But let's get into the outside of this lens. So this right here is your 35 to 100 2.8 from Tamron. It feels fine in the hands. It doesn't feel like the cheaper, less expensive ones that they used to make back in the day. But I do want to break out Tamron's 35 to 150 f2 to 2.8 just to show you a little bit difference in the size and of course in the weight. When this lens came out, it was pretty damn impressive to be a 2 to 2.8 variable lens, but it comes at a price and it comes at a hefty feeling weight, whereas Tamron decided to pare down this super popular range, and yes, you're only getting 35 to 100, but it's a continuous 2.8, and the trade-off you get is size and weight. Now, speaking about size, this is 5 inches, which I hear is massive. I get all the time, you're so big. I mean, it's so big. Tamron says that this lens covers the most popular portrait ranges of 35, 50, 85, and 100. I don't really hear 100 being the popular range. It's usually 105 or 135 or potentially 200 millimeters. And also, this is a 2.8, not a 1.4 or a 1.8, but yes, you can still do portraits at 2.8. 2.8 is still a great place to be, much better than f4. It weighs in at 1.25 pounds or 565 grams, which is half the weight of the 35 to 150. What's interesting about what Tamron has done with this 35 to 100 is that there's a lot of overlap with a few other lenses. You have your 28 to 75 G2, you now have your 35 to 100, you have a 35 to 150, you have a 70 to 180. There's a lot going on for you to make a decision on, and again, at the end of this video, I'm gonna help frame it for you to see if this is the right lens for you. But let's take a look around the outside of the lens. Your lens hood does not have a button. It just goes in, and clicks out. Always make sure to put your lens hood on, even if you're indoors. Not only does it help in case you bang it against something, but it cuts down on the stray light. You have a 67 millimeter filter thread, which matches a lot of what Tamron has in their other lenses. You've got your manual ring right here and your zoom ring, which you go from right here is 35. This is 100. You can see that it is an external zooming lens, but again, the great part about this lens is the fact that at 35, you're at 2.8, and at 100, you're at 2.8. You have your custom switch on the side. You have 1, 2, and 3, along with one custom button, which is programmable. You do have the USB port down here where you can get a dongle to control those custom functions. Now, in terms of a throw, it's a pretty easy throw. It's short. I can just swing my thumb just like this. It's not too heavy, so it's not too tight and it's not too loose, which is really easy for making your zoom go zoom. Now, if you were thinking, what about image stabilization? It does not have any image stabilization built in. My biggest question with a lens that only goes to 35 on the wide side is it wide enough? Now, as someone who's been using a Canon 28 to 70 f2 for the last 5+ years, I sometimes think that 28 isn't exactly wide enough, and 24 is better than 28, which means 28 is slightly better than 35 because it's gonna give you a little bit more on the wider end. There were times where I was photographing the kids playing in the backyard and they were together, but I really had to take more steps back than I would have had to than if I had a slightly wider focal length or field of view. Let me jump in here real quick and let you know that this video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're looking to build your very own online portfolio, use what I've used for my personal website at jaredpolin.com for more than 15 years because it's simple, easy, affordable, and I don't need to know any coding. It's great for hosting everything, and I can also buy custom domains. Now, if you want to get a 14-day free trial, head on over to squarespace.com/FronosPhoto. If you decide that it's for you, use the code FronosPhoto at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Now, let's get back to the video. The 35 to 100 is nice when I want to get that nice 35 shot like I did of the kid on the trampoline out here. That's fine at 35 because I got the scene, I got the backyard, and I personally love 35 as a focal length, especially when I'm traveling or doing street photography. I like a 35 prime. In this case, you're getting the zoom capability, so you're getting a little more. You're not going to get the quality of a prime, but you're getting the versatility of a 35 to 100, all at 2.8. Now, being that a lot of kids play in this backyard, they have one of these jungle gym things that you have to, it's like a half dome, and I was able to climb myself in there because I wanted to go inside of this to get better photos of the kids playing on the little swing inside, when one of the little girls just looked at me on the other side, and I was like, that's an awesome shot. 35 millimeters just gives you that realistic look of what your eyes kind of see, or what my eyes at least see, and I just love how she looks here. She is sharp, the colors are good, and the kids in the foreground are out of focus, and the background, being that it's shot at 2.8, is also out of focus as well. If it was a f4 or a variable that was 5.6 or 7.1, the background would be more prevalent, which makes it more of a distraction, which is why it's important to have 2.8 or better. Let's talk about close focus, because at 35 millimeters, you can get within 8.7 inches or 22 centimeters. And on the long end at 100 millimeters, it's 25.6 inches or 65 centimeters. So I felt like I was able to get close enough, and the lens didn't feel like it was limiting me from getting the shot that I needed to get with the kids playing or with the dog. I just love those dog photos where you're like, dog, look up. And this was a really good puppy, so I just, locked my focus in. I will tell you, on the Sony, when you do switch to animal AF versus people AF, it absolutely makes a difference when you're trying to capture the dog versus if you left it in people. Now, I can't tell you how it will act on a Nikon, but you probably know how it will by now. Now, it's one thing to use a lens in perfectly good light in the backyard that's overcast, but what about taking it indoors? Generally speaking, the large zooms, the variable apertures that Tamron and other companies have made in the past, they're not ideal indoors, because if you're shooting at 5.6 or 7.1, you gotta bump that ISO up much higher, which takes away color and takes away quality. But in this case, to have a 2.8 all the way through is great when you're photographing in a kitchen like I was with this chef over at Ama. So you see this image is at 35, just to give you a little feel of what 35 is versus 100. And that's 100. That allows you to bang in and still get the wides, mediums, tights, and details. But what about the difference between 100 and 150? Well, with these two examples, you can see the one on the left is at 100 and the one on the right is at 150. So that was done with the 35 to 150 Tamron, and you can definitely see that you get more reach. Of course, 150 is longer than 100, so if you think you need longer, well, maybe you're gonna look at a 70 to 180, or possibly spend more money on a 35 to 150. In terms of autofocus, you have the VXD linear motors, which are pretty good. I didn't have any problems whether I was focusing on the kids running around in the backyard or the chef or Troy's portraits. The focus hit where it needed to hit. I've always loved having 2.8s because it helps separate the subjects from the background. Of course, the f2s and the 1.8s and the 1.4s and the 1.2s will do that even more, but it comes at a price. And I see this as being one of those economically friendly type lenses that offers you a pretty nice range with a 2.8. So here in the kitchen, just focused on these little side dishes, you can see the chef's out of focus in the background. He looks perfectly fine. In terms of blades, you've got 9 aperture blades to help you with that background bokeh, but it looks fine. Is it gonna be perfect? I don't know. I don't give a shit about that background bokeh in this case because it doesn't jump out and look like it's bad. You see it be really bad in those super low-end lenses, but even in those situations, a good picture is a good picture is a good picture. You are getting something that is more affordable, so you have to understand there's gonna be some trade-offs. Let me jump in here real quick because I wanna show you FROPAK 4 in action on this photo right here, starting with Blue's Clues, followed by Brooklyn, C41, Copper Tone, High C, Kaleidoscope, Mel Brooks, Saltwater Taffy, Thick, and Wet Hot American Summer. We all know my favorite from FROPAK 1 is Skittles, but let's not forget about classics like Silvertide, Acid Wash, Kensington, and Waffle House. But check this out. New and exclusive to FROPAK 4, we have 4 custom adaptive Lightroom presets called Face Enhance, Full Body Skin Enhance, Eye Only Enhance, and Background Blur. So look, if you want to speed up your RAW workflow, give yourself a great starting point at home or even edit on the go in Lightroom Mobile, because yes, all FROPAKs work on RAW or JPEGs at home or on the go. We created 14 all-new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at froknosphoto.com/FROPAK4. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters, and if you decide to pick them up right now, they are currently on sale. Or if you want to save even more, you can get the Grand Slam bundle that includes FROPAK 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, back to the video. This lens comes in at $899, which is not bad when you consider what you're getting. It's in a general price point where Tamron seems to put a large majority of their 2.8 zoom lenses. Now, your 35 to 150, that's gonna set you back like $1,500, so keep that in mind that that is much more expensive and is much heavier, whereas this 5-inch Short King is definitely nice and compact and fits into tighter, smaller spaces. Now moving into portraits of my buddy Troy Venkman, he had a new backpack, which is like a Slimer backpack. Didn't actually shoot, but it is movie realistic, and he has his Ecto car that we had in the background in the garage. Now I set it up because I wanted him right inside of the garage on an overcast day where the light will bounce off the ground and was nice and soft and light him up. Now normally I like to do portraits wider than 2.8, right? I like 1.4s, 1.2s, 1.8s, f2s. But in this case, we have the 2.8 and it's perfectly fine for doing portraits, especially, tip right here, is if you zoom out to 100 and you back up and you fill the frame, that at 2.8 is gonna help compress your subject from the background and make them pop out more. So having the range of 35 to 150 as we look through these photos of Troy was great because it allowed me to get up close and personal down low when he's holding the gun and you can see it out of focus and you can see him nice and sharp. Whereas if I back up at 100 and go full body right here, it gives it a nice compressed look. That is what you're getting. It's the versatility of 35 to 100 instead of just a prime lens or something that's much more expensive like the 35 to 150. And of course, what is a portrait session without a super tight headshot to see how we can fill the frame but still keep the composition nice and keep the image pleasing. Let's zoom in on his eye. It's nice and sharp, and we didn't get eyelash AF. I can't say the same for the Nikon because I didn't test it on the Nikon. Now, one of the things I will tell you about this lens is it doesn't feel like it's gonna produce the best colors in the world or sometimes the sharpest of sharpest images. Now, I say that when I compare it to something like a 35-1.4 Sigma, the version 2, because, well, that's just a much more expensive lens and it's meant to be sharper, better coatings, slightly different. You have to understand that this is a versatile play here. 35 to 100, 2.8 at $899 is less expensive but more versatile. You're gonna get very good images. And if you don't put them side by side with other things, no one's gonna be like, well, that wasn't great or that's not a good image. But not if it doesn't pass the sniff test and the wind tunnel test. Let's start with the sniff test. Oh, Ecto Cooler from High C. Ooh, what a great smell. it passes. Wind tunnel time. No, I'm sorry. It failed the wind tunnel test. Let me jump in here real quick and say, do you struggle getting sharp, crisp images like these in low light? Well, if you said yes, I have a free guide for you. Just head on over to froknosphoto.com, look for this orange box, put your name, email address in it, hit send it, and I'm gonna send you a free guide to capturing motion in low light situations. Now, back to the video. So to land this plane, this is an $899 lens. The 70-180 from Tamron is $999. The 28-105 from Sigma is a 2.8 as well, but that is a $1,499 art lens. That is a big difference, but that gives you that wider 28 and slightly longer at 105. If you are looking for a lens like that on the Sony E-mount, that might be a good option if you have more money to spend. Now, as I mentioned, the 35-150 2-2.8 is on sale for $1499. That's $200 off currently. The 28-75 G2 is $699, and Tamron also offers a 25-200 Tamron for the same $899. But that is a variable aperture lens and not nearly as good as this 2.8. Again, it's versatility over having that 2.8. I personally prefer a 2.8, but the 25-200 or Sigma's 20-200, they are great travel lenses for compactness. We have reviews on both of those. Those are awesome for that. Not so good for indoors in low light, where this lens absolutely does shine when you compare it. So at the end of the day, who is this lens for? If I was selling cameras in the camera store still today, and someone came in and they're like, I just kind of want one good lens, but I don't want to spend over $1,000. I'd be like, you know what? This is a great option. It's 35, it's 100, it's a 2.8 all the way through. You're going to get more light gathering and better images than what the kit lens offers you, or something that might be a larger zoom range, but you don't have that 2.8. 35 is going to be fine for the family pictures. It's going to be fine for the kid on stage. You might have to get a little closer because 100 isn't as long as 150 or 200, obviously, but there's always a trade-off. This is a very good starter lens. It's not going to set the world on fire, but when you are just starting out and you need some versatility and you get a 2.8, you can go in the pit at a concert and shoot this. You could use it at weddings. You could do portraits with it. It is going to be versatile. So it's not a bad choice for a first lens for under $1,000. What do you guys think? You could always let me know down below. And that's all I have to say. Jared Polin, froknosphoto.com. See ya.